At the beginning of the story, we learn that it all started with a gift from the girl's mother. The girl dropped this beautiful pendant on the ground and it shattered. She tried to catch it, but she couldn't. At that moment, the girl was overcome by a wave of memories. She hears in her head some satisfied familiar voice and guesses that this voice belongs to her acquaintance, whose name is Yuen Ga-yul. The girl moves to another place for a second. While behind her back, some woman asks her if she's okay. The girl tells the woman that she's fine, and she looks quite confused. A woman comes closer to the protagonist and asks her if she needs help, but the girl gets up off the ground and says she's fine and doesn't need anyone's help. To reassure the woman that the girl is fine, she tells her that she's really fine, and the woman shouldn't worry too much. Suddenly, the action of the whole story moves to another place, where two maids apologize to Miss Elodie. One of them says she did it by accident and apologizes to the protagonist. The girl realizes that the memories that just passed by her were like a flood. The girl doesn't answer the maids, but she thinks she's doomed, because it was her past life. After all this happens, we find out that the girl's name is Elodie Perdia. This girl is the illegitimate daughter of the Duke of Perdia. The girl stands in front of the mirror, and we see how charming she is, and her emerald eyes are touching to the core. Also, the girl herself tells us that until now she grew up with Elodie's memories, but at the moment when her mother's gift accidentally broke, she remembered her past, or to be more precise, she remembered her past life. The girl herself also realizes that now she lives in the world of the novel called Villain's Love Adopted Daughter. It turns out that this novel the girl read in her past life, after she was reborn, she became a character in this novel. But according to her, the main problem is that she is Elodie Perdia. Then we find out why the girl does not like her role in the novel. It turns out that her character is the main villain of the novel, which does terrible things. Throughout the novel, the girl behaved in an arrogant and humiliating others. But for her behavior throughout the novel, at the end of the narrative, she is executed. The protagonist thinks this could be a very sad end to her life. Still standing in front of the mirror, she realizes that although she has all her memories from her past life back, the memories of the character she is now have not gone away. The girl doesn't understand why she can't start from the beginning, but still have all her memories back. The girl is very worried about everything that is happening. She does not understand why everything is happening now, and why she cannot return to the past. We learn that among the other sins of the girl is also listed, and abuse of servants and excessive luxury. The girl gets up from her seat and realizes that if this continues, she'll probably die, just as the original novel itself prescribed. The girl thinks that she needs to think of something because she doesn't want to die like Elodie in the original. The girl decides that first, and needs to put together everything she remembers. At the same time, the girl also realizes that although her character did cruel things, in the end it was not the main reason for her death. The girl looks a little saddened. We finally learn the main reason for the character's death in the novel. After all, according to the girl, the biggest problem is that her father, Duke Perdia, is the greatest villain in the world. While being the most ruthless villain, he holds Elodie's hand until she dies. The girl is very much saddened that this man is her father. But in the fact that the Duke of Perdia did not care about the death of his daughter, was guilty of another participant in the novel. It turns out he didn't care about his daughter's death because there is Estelle, and she is the main character in this novel. In fact, Estelle is her estranged sister. We learn that Estelle was adopted for political purposes, but because of her beauty like a sun goddess, the whole family starts to love her, and in the end, she gets a happy ending. According to the girl, it is a typical romantic therapeutic fantasy. Also in the plot of the novel, the prince who was engaged to Elodie leaves the girl because of her terrible behavior, which he could not tolerate. And the family of villains Perdia, which wanted to strengthen its power through the first prince, adopts Estelle, who as a result of all the events and becomes the wife of the prince. The girl thinks that she needs to get out of this unfortunate house as soon as possible, while she realizes that at the moment she does not have time to visit the Duke of Perdia. The girl thinks about the consequences of running away, but then she realizes that if she does, she's likely to be caught, and sudden departures are likely to arouse suspicion, so she abandons the idea. But the protagonist realizes that before her father adopts Estelle, she must become independent and leave this house. But she also realizes that her family probably won't let her do so easily. Sitting at her desk, the girl thinks she has to do everything in her power to leave anyway. She guesses what she has to do first, to leave. All this time the girl has been drawing, and after she is done, she looks happily at the result. She describes the character she drew as a handsome man with silver hair and green eyes. The girl also mentions that it's time to let him go. While as if saying goodbye to him, the girl thinks that, of course, it's nice to live watching the handsome faces of the main characters. It's as if she's saying goodbye to him and wishing him to be happy. It turns out that the girl said this about the prince with whom she should have an engagement if you follow the plot of the novel. According to the girl's opinion, the first thing she should do is to break the engagement with the first prince. Because according to her opinion, better than handsome is only the desire to live. The action moves to some castle where the butler tells His Majesty that a letter has come to him. The boy realizes it's a letter from Perdia again. The boy's words have a certain disdain for this family, and he thinks it's a letter from Miss Perdia, although the guy mentions that he told her they'd have to discuss His Majesty's birthday banquet. He doesn't understand what the letter means, because the banquet has been postponed for some time, and after he opens the letter, the guy laughs a little, and his butler wonders what's the matter. The letter said that the girl was afraid that she would not be able to give His Highness the Crown Prince enough time, so she asked the guy if he could sign the proposed document and send it. The letter included a document to break the engagement between her and the Crown Prince. Apparently, the girl had already started her plan to avoid death. The guy is very much surprised by what was written in the letter. He wonders what the girl is doing and what she is up to. After all, this step is not the most usual one. After a while, the girl is called by her father. She goes into his office, and in her eyes you can see a bit of fear. She asks her father if he has called her. The father stands in front of the girl and says that she has made a mistake. The girl lowers her head and thinks about the fact that the man who usually doesn't care about anything she does has suddenly called her to him. She thinks that it may be because not so long ago she treated the servants badly. She also has another theory in her head. She thinks that all this may be because of the commotion she made at the banquet a few days earlier. The father asks the girl to say it with her own mouth. Looking at him, we can see quite a young man. Also, he asks the girl, what the hell is she thinking? Elodie tells her father that she is sorry. He is very surprised by the girl's answer and asks her what she just said. But the girl repeats again that she is sorry and it won't happen again. We can see that her father remains puzzled. It becomes obvious that the girl did not understand the reason why she was summoned. Her father emphasizes that a few days ago she sent a letter asking to break the engagement. I informed him about it personally by the Crown Prince. The girl is very surprised that her father found out about this action. The girl tells her father that everything is right, and she did it. And there is some relief in her soul, for she thought she had been summoned for something more serious. The girl's father says that all this time he turned a blind eye to everything she did. But her current act is a different story. He asks her if she didn't want the engagement herself. The girl looks a little surprised at her father's words and tells him that she thought it didn't matter, because as far as she knew, the prince was also against the engagement. But her father, who is not impressed by the girl's story, tells her that things have changed. We also learn that this engagement was a compromise that neither the Duke nor the Prince liked. So she thought that if she sent a document to break the engagement, nothing bad would happen. She could not even think at that moment that the Prince would personally contact the Duke and inform him about this incident. Suddenly the girl comes back from her thoughts and asks her father if she understood correctly that he means to say that she will not be allowed to break her engagement to the Prince. Her father emphasizes that this is so, and the girl has no choice but to agree with him. The father tells the girl that from now on she is on probation, and the man looks as if he is really disappointed with his daughter's behavior. In turn, the protagonist tells the father that she understands everything, and that she will follow his orders. The girl's father looks very pensive. The girl asks him if he has anything else to say to her, but apparently she is very worried, because she doesn't know what to expect from her father. The Duke tells his daughter that he doesn't want to say anything more and she can go. The girl realizes that her father is probably not telling her something, but agrees with him and leaves. Immediately after the protagonist left her father's office, her face changed dramatically behind the door. She experienced a terrible feeling of fear because she thought that she would be punished more harshly, but only now the girl realizes that breaking the engagement will be very difficult. Elodie decides to go to her room. At this time, the girl also thinks that she did not expect everything to be easy, so these difficulties do not scare her at all. The girl realizes that sending the letter was an unwise decision on her part. But whether she likes it or not, the engagement is still intact and remains in force. It finally dawns on the girl that the Duke of Perdia supports the first prince. She believes that breaking off the engagement is not something she can do on a whim. Heading to her room, the girl also thinks she needs to be a little more patient, because she has 3 more years to go. The girl believes that during this time she should become independent, yet the girl's will to live is so great that she would do anything to avoid being executed, as in the plot of the novel. We also learned that a long time ago, the 7 deadly sins descended to Earth to destroy all life on Earth. They destroyed everything they met on their way. All this happened because the goddess of the underworld called Ereshkigal wanted heaven and earth, and it was at her will that the 7 deadly sins destroyed the entire continent. But before the earth was turned to dust, Ereshkigal's younger sister descended to Earth, and she is the goddess of heaven and earth who is called Ishtar. Then the goddess of heaven and earth, in order to save all who live on earth, distributed her power to 7 people so that they could seal the 7 deadly sins and save the whole world. After the people were victorious, and the victorious people were hailed as heroes, then they created 7 families. These 7 families were the beginning of the Valentia Empire. Today, only 5 of the 7 families remain, including the royal family, and one of the main families was Duke Perdia, who was endowed with the power of destruction. A girl who is still walking in the corridors meets some young man who tells her that they have not seen each other for a long time, and this guy calls the girl Lily. To be honest, I don't understand why Lily, when her name is Elodie, but I guess it's a kind of diminutive form of her name, although at the same time she is called by the name that was before. In short, a very strange moment. The protagonist pretends to be happy to see the guy too, and says that they really haven't seen each other for a long time. But she thinks that she expected to run into them when she got to the main building, but she didn't expect to run into them right after she was violated. We find out that the guy who talked to the girl is her brother Yancey, and the other guy behind him is also her brother Carl. Yancey is the eldest of the brothers and he is the Duke's heir, and Carl is just the youngest son. The eldest emphasizes that he heard that the girl had asked to break off her engagement to the first prince. He asks the girl if this is true. The girl says it is. But the disgruntled younger brother says that this is not a request to break off the engagement, for she immediately sent the papers of breaking off the engagement. The girl is surprised that her younger brother is so dismissive about it because he is 2 years younger than her. She is shocked by it, but she pretends to be calm and tells her younger brother that it's just the way it is. The older brother is calmer than the younger brother and asks his sister if she's gotten a bad rap from their father. But the girl tells him it's not that bad and it's just probation. Yancey tells the girl that he is very happy that things have worked out this way for her, and we learn that Yancey has inherited his power from direct descendants, and his power is very special. It turns out that the power of her older brother is death, and any mention of him throws people into a shiver. That's why she tries to behave with him very carefully, because she realizes that everything can turn out very sad if you somehow upset his older brother. But the girl knows that when communicating with others, it's very easy for her brother to calculate their every move, and if necessary, he's ready to use this skill, guys. What kind of character is this character? Because not only does he have a superpower that is death, but he can also calculate other people's moves. The girl, because she realizes that her brother is a very strange man, she thinks about the fact that his appearance is radically different from his gut. The girl, as if trying to figure out what to do next, she turns her head away from her brothers, and then the older one asks the girl if she is sick, and the younger one says that the girl is just pretending. But the girl at that moment only thinks that such a pretty face does not affect her. Obviously, she means her older brother. Carl, unlike his older brother, is happy that the girl was given probation. He says that since her head is not all right, why not take probation and never go out again? Obviously, the guy is teasing his sister. The girl gets very angry when she hears her younger brother's words. She doesn't say anything to him. While in her head, she calls him a little brat. It becomes clear that the younger brother is not that well disposed towards her. Yancey stands up for the girl and emphasizes that he already told his younger brother not to talk to their sister like that. Even the main character is surprised that Yancey decided to protect her. The older of the brothers touches the younger one's shoulder a little and says that they are a family and should be friendly. But Carl is very surprised by his older brother's words and asks him if he understood correctly that Yancey wants to say that she is part of their family. Yancey says that of course he meant it because they're his favorite relatives, and you can tell by the look on his face that the guy's being dishonest and being a bit sly about it. Even the main character who notices it and realizes that her older brother is lying and doesn't blush, though she doesn't say anything to him about it, and just thanks him for protecting her. Elodie realizes that at this point their conversation has reached an impasse and tells her brothers that she will go about her business, mentioning that it was nice to see them. When the girl leaves, Carl asks Yancey if he heard the same thing he did. It's clear that the guys have a disdain for their sister, especially Carl. He continues to look at his sister's back as she walks away and says that he feels as if everything he ate for breakfast is about to come out. And we can see that Yancey is much more forgiving of his sister. Carl also asks his older brother if he too thinks their sister has been acting strange lately. He doesn't ask his brother. Maybe she ate something wrong too. Yancey supports his version and says that in his opinion Carl is right, because he too thinks that Elodie has changed a lot. In the future, we learn that Yancey and Carlotta showed their powers at a very young age, and it also turns out that all the direct heirs of the families that founded the country can use their powers, except for the main character. She realizes that the reason the girl can't use her power is because she's not a real Perdia, and you can see the disappointment on the girl's face. Everyone knows her as the illegitimate daughter of the Duke of Perdia, but she has no blood from the Duchy of Perdia in her veins. She seems aloof from the family. The protagonist realizes that when everyone finds out that she is not the heiress of the ducal blood, everything can turn out for her quite sadly. She decides that she must become independent before everyone finds out that she is an illegitimate child. The girl thinks she can handle all the difficulties ahead of her, while two of her maids are watching her. Elodie begins to laugh, and the maids who have been watching her all this time are very much frightened. It seems that they are again expecting some unequivocal act from the girl, like when she beat them. They start whispering behind the protagonist's back, one of them asking if their lady has finally lost her mind, while the girl is rejoicing that if she hadn't restored her memories, she would never have known about it. Elodie is also very happy that she inherited her power from her real parents. Turns out her power is purification, and that power belonged to the Severe's family. We learn that in the end of the original book, Elodie was caught using her power, and as a result she was killed, because she is not the real Perdia. The girl herself cannot believe that in the original novel, she was killed just because she is not a real daughter. On top of that, her own father, the head of the family, whose name is Reinhard Severus, and who is also a duke, is now in a coma. Because of this girl, no one can help. Because of all this, the girl realizes that in order for her to survive, she has to hide until the last minute. She seems very determined to do what she wants, and she expects everything to go according to her plan. A girl realizes she needs to make the best of her abilities and become independent before they realize who she is and the power she possesses. The girl starts approaching some big garden which looks more like a greenhouse. She looks at all this splendor thinking that it's very beautiful, but also very dangerous. As she gazes at this beauty, the girl thinks that her mission begins here and now, and that it is to come under the patronage of the Duchess of Perdia. Suddenly, the Duchess herself comes out of the greenhouse right in front of the girl and tells Elodie that they haven't seen each other for a long time. I'm wondering who she's been seeing, because everyone she's seeing tells her that they haven't seen each other for a long time. It's very strange. The Duchess emphasizes that the girl did not tell her she was coming. Then the Duchess inquires if anything happened to the girl, and we learn that this woman is Themis Perdia. She is the Duchess and the birth mother of Carlotta and Yancey, as well as a better desecrator of the continent. The girl makes a little bow to the woman, says she is very glad to see her, and emphasizes that she has something to tell the Duchess, and asks if she can have her help. The Duchess immediately guesses what it is about, and with a meaningful look at the girl asks her if she needs financial support from a woman. Elodie looks very happy, and tells the Duchess that this is the case, because it directly relates to the Duchess's current affairs. Themis looks at the girl and thinks for a moment, but deciding that she should help the protagonist, turns around and calls the girl to her greenhouse, at which time the protagonist thanks the woman for her understanding. Before entering the greenhouse, the Duchess tells the girl that it is quite dangerous inside, so she advises the girl not to touch anything in order not to hurt herself. Although I honestly do not really understand what could be dangerous among these flowers. Then the Duchess asks the girl if she understood her, and our protagonist in turn says that she understood everything perfectly. Then they both start to enter this beautiful room. Just they went inside, and at once the woman asks Elodie what she wanted to tell the Duchess. The girl is surprised at such a pressure from the Duchess, and even a little lost at first, but still comes to herself, and having collected herself, enters into a dialogue with the Duchess. The girl states that she has heard of the Duchess's unpleasant situation. The woman herself is a little surprised by the girl's words, and asks what she is talking about at all. The girl mentions that the imperial family issued a collection order. The Duchess herself doesn't understand what the girl is leading up to, and asks her what's wrong with the imperial family issuing a collection order. The girl thinks this conversation is a waste of time, but she tells the woman that she has developed an excellent insecticide for farmers, and she can't believe that the imperial family has decided to pay for the collection order. The Duchess herself says there's nothing they can do about it, because although she's helped farmers, her insect repellent is very poisonous to humans. But the joyful girl who finally saw some emotion on the Duchess's face tells her that she will help the Duchess, while the woman looks at the girl in bewilderment. Elodie asks the Duchess to believe her, because according to the girl, she can do something to help the woman. But the Duchess does not look very trusting, and asks the girl how she is going to do it. The girl holds out to the Duchess a bottle, which from afar resembles perfume bottles, while the Duchess looks at the thing in surprise and asks the girl what it is. A happy Elodie tells the woman that this will solve her problem because this vial contains an antidote. We learn that the trump up Elodie's sleeve is a special antidote. The girl even mentions that she created it herself to solve the problem. We also learn that the girl's plan B is to get money from the Duchess and leave, thereby becoming independent and saving her life. But the Duchess in the form of an antidote is not very impressed, and asks the girl if she really thinks she'll believe her words so easily. The Duchess, who has taken the antidote in her hands, looks at this miracle drug from the protagonist. Also, the Duchess wonders from her if the girl is now just trying to piss off the woman. The cheerful protagonist says that of course it's not true, and she realizes that it's very hard to believe. But if the Duchess doubts, why doesn't she just try her antidote? While the girl looks very happy and confident that her antidote will really work as it should. The girl informs the Duchess herself, saying that she guarantees the proper effect of her antidote. The surprised Duchess, after some thought, agrees with the girl and says that since they are here, why don't they try her antidote at the same time? The woman beckons the girl over to her. The girl immediately and successfully approaches the Duchess, at which point the Duchess asks the protagonist to look at something and asks her what she thinks it is. Elodie looks at what the Duchess has shown her. She says it's a worm, and an unusual one at that. It's quite big, also looking at it. The girl notices that it looks cute, but it seems a bit cold. Duchess says it's an unusual worm, it's a tapeworm. She says these worms are now the new plague. Their survival and reproductive abilities make them very resilient. The woman says that now they're going to test the girl's antidote. Elodie asks the Duchess if she's going to lead the insecticide into that glass box while the worm is still inside. The woman says it's exactly as the girl thinks it is. She notes that first they'll add an insecticide to get rid of the worm, and then the woman decides to see what happens if she adds the antidote that the girl brought. After the Duchess has added the girl's remedies, she pensively looks at the result, with the protagonist watching. The girl is standing a little behind the Duchess. She's thinking about the fact that even though she's confident in her antidote, Her hands are still a little shaky from the excitement she's just experienced. The girl practically prays to the worm. She thinks that although it is a pest, it must not let her down. It is for the health of mankind and her material well-being. The girl closes her eyes in anticipation of the result. Suddenly, the girl opens her eyes and sees like a worm. Even the Duchess is very much surprised at what is seen. You can tell from her face that she can't even believe her eyes. The girl is very happy that her antidote is working. She hugs the Duchess's arm and says that the worm is alive after all. The woman looks at the girl in surprise, obviously because the girl came so close to her and hugged her. The girl looks directly at the Duchess and says that her antidote is working after all, realizing that she has gotten too close to the Duchess and hugged her arm. A little worried about what the woman herself will say about it. The girl is a little distant from the Duchess and apologizes. She argues that she was so excited that she was a little too emotional, while the Duchess is happily watching the girl, while the protagonist thinks that she is too friendly. The Duchess tells the girl that it's okay, and not to apologize for it. It was just a bit of a surprise to the woman looking directly at the main character the Duchess becomes. I wonder what made a humble child full of fears change so much. But the woman says that in any case, since the girl's antidote is working, she is willing to listen to her wishes. Obviously now she is willing to help the girl, because she has created an effective antidote that will help the Duchess to advance her development. The girl is also very happy, because her plan has worked and she has succeeded. She says that her wish is that the Duchess will let her sell the antidote under the name of the Duchess. The Duchess herself, who still has the girl's antidote in her hands, is very surprised by the girl's desire. She can't believe what she's heard, but the girl asks the woman to promise her a percentage of the proceeds from the sale of her antidote. The woman is still very surprised and asks why the girl does not want to use her name to sell the antidote. But the girl says that if she starts selling the antidote under her own name, no one will believe her if she says it's her own, and she doesn't want to draw public attention to herself. And so the girl asks the Duchess to keep it a secret that she's the one who came up with the antidote. We learn that the girl is doing it so she can leave the place without attracting too much attention from the public. The woman thinks about the girl's proposal for a while. She puts the antidote on the table and says that she doesn't think selling it will do her any harm, but she asks the girl to tell her how Elodie managed to create the antidote. The girl decides to tell the Duchess how she managed to create the antidote. She says that the truth is that a couple of days ago, her power manifested itself, which was used to create the antidote. The woman is a little surprised that the girl has powers, but Elodie continues her story and says that she thinks her power lies in her ability to destroy poisons. But the girl herself knows that her power lies not in her ability to destroy poisons, but in her ability to heal. But she keeps it to herself so that others don't suspect anything. We learn that in the original novel, Elodie tries to poison Estelle but accidentally poisons herself. The girl drank the poison but still didn't die. Then, because of the power of healing, she did not allow herself to die of poison. But this gave away her true identity, after which all the other unfortunate events in the novel took place. Now the girl lied because she knows how it will end in the end when she gets caught. Although lying about her powers is not the best option, but at the moment in the opinion of the girl, it is the only one. The Duchess says it's great news. Doesn't ask the girl why she's been hiding it. She says they should have a good celebration. In my subjective opinion, the Duchess seems like a nice person. But the girl answers her that there is no need to celebrate her appearance, because she says she doesn't want any misunderstandings. The girl says she understands her position well, so the Duchess doesn't need to worry about it. The girl mentions that she's just the Duke's illegitimate daughter. The girl thinks she wants to make it clear to the Duchess that she's no threat to her and her sons. The Duchess looks meaningfully at the girl and says she understands. She tells Elodie that she understands, and the girl in turn thanks the Duchess for her understanding, with the Duchess mentioning that she expects a successful partnership with Elodie, after which the action of the story moves to the protagonist's room. There, the protagonist is lying on her bed. She looks very exhausted, and apparently the girl is not feeling very well. At this time, one of her personal maids approaches her. The maid says that the girl does not look good after meeting with Madame. The maid asks if the protagonist has any problems and asks why she is doing something she has never done before. Then she mentions that the protagonist is not good at anything but shining her pretty face. Elodie looks at her maid and asks her if she is worried about the girl at all. She does not understand whether the maid is worried or just insulting her. The maid says that she is worried about the girl because if something happens to her, she will lose her job. But the girl realizes that the maid is not worried about her and tells her that she is worried about her job. Just then, the girl gets up on the bed a bit. The maid says that's great and mentions that she has some guest waiting for her. The girl is very surprised to hear about the guest and says that she didn't seem to have any meetings planned. March, which is the maid's name, says my lady has no friends at all, and the girl looks at her maid and thinks she's mocking her. But the maid says that in any case, the girl should hurry up because he has been waiting for her for a long time. The protagonist is very surprised and asks who he is. Obviously, she does not guess who the guest is because she did not even expect anyone. But the maid says that her guests are His Highness the Crown Prince. While the guy is waiting for the girl over a mug of tea, he doesn't look very happy. Though it's understandable because he is a prince, and still he has to wait for someone. As soon as the girl heard that the Crown Prince himself was waiting for her, she immediately started to run to him. While the girl was running, she made so much noise that even the prince, who was in the other room drinking a mug of tea, heard about it and got a little alarmed. The girl hurriedly enters the room where the prince is sitting. She greets him and apologizes to him for keeping him waiting, while the prince puts the mug on the table and tells the girl that everything is all right, then asks her to sit down. According to him, they have something to discuss. The girl guesses why the crown prince has come here and what he wants to discuss. She immediately tells him that she wants to break their engagement, adding that she is sure that this engagement is not his sincere desire, and she apologizes for causing so much trouble because of her stubbornness. The crown prince looks a little angry at the girl's behavior. He asks her if something has happened, and why she has changed her mind so abruptly about the engagement. The main character says that nothing terrible has happened, but the crown prince looks at her and notices that she doesn't look very good. We know that she was lying in bed before and was not expecting anyone. Maybe that's why he thinks that way. The girl is very annoyed by his persistent questions. She thinks about the fact that she told him once that nothing happened, but more calmly already tells the prince that everything is fine. But the girl says that anyway, her father is against the fact that they broke off the engagement. She asks, the inherited prince, could he talk to him? Because according to her father, will probably listen to him. But the crown prince doesn't seem as enthusiastic about their engagement being broken off. He asks the girl why she suddenly made such a drastic decision to cancel the whole event. Elodie initially doesn't know what to say to the crown prince, but then tells him that the truth is that she has fallen in love with another guy. The crown prince is very surprised by this answer from his beloved. The girl emphasizes that she feels uncomfortable with the situation, but emphasizes that if they were already married, she would not be able to give her heart to someone else. So she asks the crown prince to break their engagement. The prince, who before was very much surprised, is now a little nervous and tells the girl that unfortunately he can't do this. We can see from his face that he is not very happy with such occurrences. The crown prince, who is standing in front of the girl, thinks about the fact that her words make no sense. Obviously, he doesn't really like her idea of breaking the engagement, but at the same time, if everything is as the girl says, it's not very clear why he doesn't want to break the engagement. The crown prince also wonders if the girl wanted to become the future empress, and then suddenly falls in love with someone else. But the crown prince does not fully understand what is happening. Looking at the girl, he thinks about the fact that she was in love with him, but now everyone says the opposite. And the girl in turn notices that the crown prince is a little hesitant, turns to him to understand what is wrong. The girl looks at the crown prince with surprise, but he thinks that it is very strange to change his mind so suddenly. He realizes that the girl is definitely up to something. After the prince has thought of all this, he informs the girl that he can't do anything, and breaking the engagement is impossible. The girl didn't expect such an answer and looks at him in surprise. But the prince adds that if the girl is trying to get his attention in this way, in his opinion, it would be better if the girl becomes right now and does not continue further. Looking directly at Elodie, the boy says that nothing prevents them from breaking off the engagement. if she wants to, but since it is not good to make such a decision hastily, it is better to discuss it later. The girl is so excited about everything that is going on that she realizes that she even starts to feel dizzy. But the prince does not stop and continues the conversation. The young prince emphasizes that regarding the emperor's birthday banquet, which the girl had asked about earlier, it would be better to discuss the matter by letter. The prince looks at the girl, who looks down and not very well, thinks that now she is trying to draw attention to herself by pretending to be sick. In his opinion, it's not even funny, but you and I know that the girl is not pretending she is really not very well. Suddenly, just the prince thought about it, and the girl fainted. The young prince was so much surprised by this that he even jumped up from the table. Obviously, he didn't expect this, especially since he thought she was faking it. The crown prince looks directly at the girl and wonders what it is. Then he slowly walks over to the girl and tells her that this is too much, while asking her what kind of disrespect she is showing towards him. Seeing that the girl doesn't answer anything, he moves a little closer to her and gently touches her, telling her to stop pretending. He also tells her to stand up, but seeing that the girl still doesn't answer anything, he finally realizes what's going on. The crown prince is a little worried, but looking directly at the girl wonders if she's really unconscious, realizing that she really is. The guy decides that he needs to do something immediately. He immediately takes the girl in his arms and starts calling for someone to help her. He starts screaming so hard that the princess faints. The crown prince begs for someone to come over here to help him, but no one responds. The crown prince doesn't know what to do. He's a bit brooding about the whole situation. The girl who is still in his arms is still lying unconscious as well. The boy wonders that even though she's illegitimate, he doesn't understand why there aren't any servants here to help them. He takes the girl in his arms and starts walking with her, realizing that he has to do everything in his power to help Elodie. Holding Melody in his arms, the lad went in search of a guest room. But soon he met the princess's personal maid. The lad wondered what her name was. He seemed to remember something about her name, and there was no mistaking that her name was Martha. With the help of the maid, he was able to get my lady to her bed, but he remembers that when he met the maid, some unusual words were said to him. Namely, at the moment when the maid saw them, she mentioned that my lady had fainted again. The lad was very much surprised at this, but at that moment he did not think of it, for he was only thinking of how to help the girl. But now that he was alone with his thoughts, he wondered what the maid meant when she said that the girl had fainted again. The crown prince is very much surprised that the girl's mistress fainted, but it's as if she didn't even pay attention to it and treated it negligently, while the guy is looking at the girl lying on the bed the whole time. He notices her arm, where he sees a cut. The guy can't figure out where it came from, and he's wondering what's going on. He's obviously very disturbed by what he's seeing. The young prince collates all the facts. Namely, he noticed that it is a separate building without permanent servants, and also a maid who calmly. Despite the fact that her mistress fainted, and even cut on her hands, which he noticed just now, but looking at the girl, the guy realizes that luckily, it doesn't look like Elodie is going to die. The guy starts to remember again the moment when he first met the girl. He realizes that from the beginning he thought the girl was nervous, and when they were talking, her hands were shaking and she was cold when she saw him. It seemed like she was really sick, but unfortunately the guy noticed it only now. Looking at Elodie lying unconscious, the young prince is even a little ashamed of himself for doubting her and not believing the girl from the beginning. He takes the girl's hand and gently looks at her and realizes that all this time he thought she was just an ordinary, boring girl. But for some reason today she seems especially unfamiliar to him. The girl finally regains consciousness and opens her eyes. Still in bed, she realizes that she has a very bad headache, and also guesses that she seems to have fainted from the poison that was left when she prepared the antidote. We also learn that there are several conditions for her power to manifest. The first condition for the girl's power to manifest is that she must taste the poison herself. And the second condition for developing an antidote was that in order to create an antidote, she had to use her powers on clean water. And it was after that the water turned into an antidote. Also, in some cases when time is short, blood can be used instead of a ready antidote to use the power. So even a small cut can accidentally cause this outcome. After she wakes up, Elodie looks at her arm and is surprised that someone put a bandage on her arm. She thinks that maybe it's because the doctor was just around and decided to help her. After the girl thinks about the doctor's version, she remembers that the doctor told her that illegitimate children cannot be examined. Then the doctor told her that treatment of illegitimate children is not allowed. The girl looks surprised at this coincidence and doesn't understand who put the bandage on her. At that moment, her maid enters the room of the protagonist. She informs the girl that she has brought warm water, and the girl in return thanks her maid for the gesture. Also on the tray that March brought, there were some medicines that March said to take. The girl is not very happy about it, and doesn't understand why she should take the medicines, but she decides to do it after all. After the girl drinks the medicine, she asks Martha what happened to the prince, but the girl tells her mistress that the prince left right after the doctor arrived. Elodie finally remembers that she seems to have fainted in front of His Highness. You can see from the girl's face that she doesn't feel good about the incident, but at the same time the girl thinks that it doesn't make any huge difference. After the girl thinks about it, March takes out some letter and emphasizes that His Highness told her to give it to Elodie after she wakes up. The maid gives the letter to the girl, but the protagonist is very surprised why the crown prince wrote her a letter. After the protagonist opens the letter, you can see from her face that she is very surprised. This is also noticed by the maid who asked her mistress what is written in the letter. It turns out that this letter says that the girl should know that soon there will be a banquet on the occasion of the birthday of His Majesty, the Emperor. The crown prince asks the girl to arrive at the courtyard 30 minutes before the party. The girl, who is still surprised by the letter, does not understand why she was invited to the banquet, because she just wanted to break the engagement. Obviously, the crown prince has feelings for the girl. The girl put aside the letter, and already really being in shock, does not understand why she should appear at this banquet. If she wants to just break the engagement, this time the girl not only thought about it, but also said it out loud. March, who has also been with the girl all this time, tells her not to worry about it because she will prepare everything for the banquet. But Elodie tells her maid that she is being overly sensitive. Elodie asks her maid, does the crown prince not want to break off the engagement because he is too busy preparing for the banquet? But March thought about it and said that maybe the prince just fell in love with a girl. Elodie, who heard this, looks surprised. She can't believe that His Highness has fallen in love with her, but you can see from her face that she's quite happy about this coincidence, even though it's out of her plan. Elodie, looking at her maid, asks her not to say such things, even in jest. March is not very tight. Why she can't talk about it. But the protagonist says it's all because it doesn't make sense. The girl realizes that everything has not gone according to plan, although she still has a lot of time left because Estelle's adoption is 3 years away. Only the fact that she has a lot of time left makes the girl happy at the moment. Our protagonist decides that she step by step will become independent. In the meantime, she decides to save money like crazy to realize her plan. At least, she thought it would be like that. But a few days later, walking down the hallway, she ran into an ambush. She met some guy in the hallway who said hello to her. The girl looking at him realizes that she is very familiar with this face, but she still didn't understand who it was. The guy asks my lady where she is going. The guy looks quite friendly, but it's only at first glance, because the moment she saw that face, she automatically thought of the phrase from the book. And it was the girl who thought of the phrase who would have thought it. For in front of her right now is Hector Garrel, aide-de-camp to the Duke of Perdia, faithfully serving him. But all this was only up to one moment, for one day it will be he who stabs the Duke in the back. We learn that Hector Harold is the would-be traitor, and the man who 3 years later discovers that the girl has no Duke of Perdia's blood in her. As mentioned in the original story, Elodie tries to poison the main character Estelle. However, the poisoning attempt fails because the drink has been switched. Elodie, who drank the poison, had the power of purification, so she didn't die, but then it was revealed that she was not a legitimate descendant of Perdia. As a result of all this, the girl is abandoned and eventually killed. And the man who switched the poison is the Duke's own aide-de-camp. The girl realizes that Similar is the man who will give her father and join the second principle, because Herceg Perdia supports the first prince as the next emperor. And the reason he switched the poison is that he wanted the ties between the first prince and the Duke's family to be severed permanently. because that's how he encouraged the divorce of the first prince and Elodie. But now the girl is faced with a completely different question. She becomes curious since when he acts as a spy of the second prince, from when he begins to malign both her family and her personally. The girl realizes that before the adjutant's treason will be uncovered, there are still 3 years left. She wonders if there is any way to uncover it now and protect herself, dear friends. And if you look at the girl's outfit, you will be simply impressed. I do not understand why until now she has not worn such beautiful outfits, but this one is really very attractive. Leave your opinion in the comments on this one if you also liked it. The girl looks at the adjutant and wonders how he could have done something like that, with such a kind face, because his act was really terrible, although she realizes that you can never know what people are capable of. The guy sees that the girl does not answer him. He becomes a little more frustrated, and once again turns to her in order to at least attract the attention of the girl, and that she responds. The girl thinks about the fact that in any case, now he does not want to kill her, so he treats her neutrally, and Estelle he did not plan to poison. The girl realizes that now the guy is no threat to her. She answers him that she is just walking around the castle. She mentions that she's doing it because she can't sit in her room forever. The guy says it's like that, but he thinks His Excellency overlooked it. The girl looking at the adjutant realizes that only after he leaves this house, he will start to act more seriously. And now he is not even a traitor at all. But in her opinion, it would be embarrassing to know about it and pretend to be unaware of such a terrible fact. The girl looks very pensive. The aide-de-camp, who sees that she does not answer him at all, thinks that it seems that the rumors that have been circulating lately that the girl is a bit strange have turned out to be true. But the girl, at the same time with a sly look, is thinking about whether she should set a little trap for the adjutant. Apparently, she wants to unravel him and show his true face in front of everyone. A girl tells Sir Harold she's got a problem and asks him if he can help her. The guy says of course he'll help her, but wonders what exactly he's supposed to help the girl with. Elodie reports that she actually thinks her father is very angry. She asks Harold if he thinks there is any way to solve the problem. The girl pretends to be very disappointed about something, although apparently she is just setting up a setup for Harold. The adjutant asks my lady why His Excellency is angry, but the girl asks him if he knows that she wants to break the engagement. The guy looks very surprised by this and asks why she wants to do it. But the girl, before telling him, asks him to promise that he will not tell anyone about it. She informs him that if, to tell the truth, she has feelings for the second principal. Harold is very much surprised by this turn of events. He looks very much frightened and even confused by this answer of the girl. At this time, the protagonist realizes that it was expected that the adjutant would be very surprised, because she had just said that she liked her father's enemy. Although the girl does not pretend to have such a cunning plan, we know that for the adjutant, everything will not work out in the best way. The girl realizes that if Harold is already secretly working with the second prince, he will most likely go to him and tell him about it, which is what the girl's plan is banking on. She thinks that even though she is an illegitimate daughter, as the daughter of the Duke of Perdia, she is a very appetizing prey. For her father is an important man. The girl realizes that now she can only wait for the news to reach the second prince. She looks as if she is 100% sure that the guy is already cooperating with the second prince and plotting something against her family. Harold, very much surprised by this turn of events, he questions my lady about it. But the girl points out to him not to speak too loudly, so that they will not be heard. Looking straight into the adjutant's eyes, she asks him how she can mitigate her father's anger. But the guy, who is obviously surprised and doesn't know what to say to the girl, says that maybe she should just stop getting into trouble, and then maybe everything will work out. The girl thanks the adjutant for the advice and pretends to follow it. You just look at how smart this girl is, to come up with a plan like that. Not everyone can. I didn't even expect it myself. But the girl only wonders if these two will fall into the trap she has made for them, and to find out if her trap will work even faster than she expected. Already prepared to go to the Emperor's birthday ball, Elodie asks her maid how she looks, and the maid tells the girl that she looks great and she'll be the prettiest girl at the banquet. Elodie tells Marty that she's put a lot of effort into this success. We also learn that even on probation, the girl must attend official events, and one of those events is the Emperor's birthday banquet. To go to the banquet. The first prince himself came for the girl. He is waiting for her near the carriage, but his appearance makes you think that something is wrong, although the guy looks just awesome. The girl also notices the strange look on the guy's face. Looking at his expression, she wonders if he even wants to accompany her or not. After the protagonist comes to the place where I was expecting the first prince, she emphasizes that she is very happy to see him, with the girl deliberately pulling a smile up to her ears. The crown prince doesn't answer her. He just stares at the girl meaningfully while the protagonist tries to get out of this awkward situation, and then the girl asks him if he wants to say something to her. But the guy turns his head and says that he doesn't want to say anything to the girl. She doesn't understand anything, and looking at him thinks that it may be because he is ashamed of that incident, although she doesn't understand why this is suddenly the case. The boy immediately informs the girl that it is time for them to leave, and in order not to be late for the banquet, he holds out his hand to my lady and asks her to get into the carriage. The girl, of course, agrees with the prince and gives him her hand, emphasizing that he should take care of her, and after a while, they drive to the place where the banquet will be held. A guy and a girl walk into this room. They both look stunning. To tell you the truth, I'd be very happy if the engagement between them wasn't broken off. Right after they enter the banquet hall, the crown prince apologizes to the girl and tells her that he has something to discuss. The girl says it's no big deal and agrees to let the crown prince leave. She sees him chatting with some men and thinks that now that His Majesty is gone, it's time for her to take action. Apparently, she's going to start executing her plan. She chooses a secluded place from the ballroom, a place that is not too conspicuous, but also not unnoticeable. She goes to that place, when suddenly some guy comes up to her and says that he is glad to see her, and the girl at that moment realizes that everything happened exactly as she thought. We understand that Harold, who is an advisor to the Duke of Perdia, has already sided with the second prince, for it was he who approached our protagonist. The girl realizes that the adjutant sided with the second prince long before the events of the novel began. At this time, and the crown prince notices the girl talking to his brother. The man he was talking to says he did what he said, but there's a problem. All this time he's been saying this to the crown prince, but it's like he doesn't even notice him. The man also saw that the crown prince was not paying attention to him, so he turns to him to listen to him and starts to talk about some order. But the crown prince shows him his hand and tells him to wait a little. The crown prince watches the girl and his little brother having a cute chat and thinks about it. He wonders what it is. Obviously, he doesn't particularly like it. Continuing to look at them, also the crown prince wondered why my lady was chatting with that bastard, which is what he called his younger brother. The prince also notices that the girl is laughing actively during their conversation. The guy starts to think that the real lover of the girl is his brother, but then the guy in his head says that this cannot be true. Though the crown prince has his doubts, he remembers a conversation between him and Elodie. He remembers her telling him that she had fallen in love with another guy, and that's when the crown prince wonders if the guy the girl fell in love with is his cursed brother, whose name is Bertrand. Guy again asks himself if the girl is really in love with Bertrand. On his face, you can see the surprise, and even some disappointment he didn't experience after seeing them together. He immediately heads towards them, but the man who has been trying to talk to him all this time calls out to him again, while the crown prince tells him that they will discuss the matter later. Right now, all he has on his mind is Elodie, and he thinks she has really lost her mind. We learn that the second Prince Bertrand is known to go out with many women. Rumor has it that there was not a single newly debuted girl with whom he would not have gone out at least once. Although there were not only these rumors about the second prince, there were also reports that he was seen on the red light street, walking freely in a state of alcoholic intoxication. From all these rumors, we can understand that the second principal behaves quite swaggering and is not distinguished by a special intelligence. Even his older brother thinks Bertrand is just human garbage, and it's not very hard to guess why, because the younger one is just constantly doing some unnecessary things that defame the name of the imperial family. A guy, so nervous about everything that's going on, that he decides that if Bertrand is the reason she wants to break off her engagement to him, he can't accept her request. The guy is only thinking about the fact that he's only trying to save Elodie because he's not grief-stricken enough to see this cunt mislead her. The guy looks set on getting the girl on his side. He still can't take his eyes off his brother and Elodie, who are still sweet-talking, all the while still being followed by his subordinate. At this time, Bertrand tells the main character that he wanted to talk to her for a long time. The guy tells the girl that he is very happy to get this opportunity, while in his hand is a glass of wine, and it becomes obvious that all the rumors about his partying were true. The girl laughs and tells the Crown Prince's younger brother that she too has wanted to talk to him for a long time, although we realize that this is just a show to convince him that he has been given the right information, and the girl thinks that she doesn't like it at all. The guy starts to put more pressure on the girl in order to arrange a personal meeting with her. He asks the princess why they should not go to the opera sometime. At first, the girl tells him that she doesn't even know, but pretends that she is very happy about this proposal. Although all this time, she again thinks negatively about everything that is happening, and is surprised that he expects her to go somewhere with him. But the guy keeps pressing the girl to arrange a meeting with her alone. He emphasizes that they could rent a restaurant nearby to have dinner together. The girl does not answer him anything, but she is very surprised by this proposal. She thinks about who told him that she would go out with him, because he is a very famous jerk. Well, the girl realizes that Bertrand coming to her probably means that he discussed it with Harold, which is almost 100% proof that Harold sided with the second prince and betrayed their family. Elodie also thinks that now that she knows he's a traitor, she shouldn't use the second prince to gain any advantage. But there's one little problem that the girl noticed too late. She realizes that the other prince is too persistent, and she wonders why he doesn't realize that it's not going to work out, while the smug prince waits for a response from the girl about his proposal to go out together. The second prince himself is looking hard at the girl, and we learn that he is sure that she wants to break off her engagement to his brother because she likes him. We as viewers realize that this is certainly not true, but the confidence of the second prince is very surprising. But as you might expect, the second prince's intentions are not as pure as his older brother's. He thinks it would be funny if his brother, the Crown Prince and the Duke of Perdia, who is his enemy, found out about it. The youngest also notices that the girl is embarrassed, though it is not even embarrassment, but nervousness, which she tries to hide in order not to give away her plan. The boy continues the dialogue with the girl, and says that his brother should be punished for leaving such a beautiful bride alone. And right after that, the second prince suggests that the girl go dance with him. Apparently, this is the punishment for his brother that he was talking about a little bit earlier. And the second prince is very much surprised to see him, and the girl turns round, and is also a little surprised at the sight of him. It turns out that at this time the girl's father came to them, looking directly at his daughter. He says that it seems that they are already finished talking. Obviously, this is a hint that the girl stopped communicating with the second prince. The Duke tells the second prince that he will take his daughter away for a moment, for he says they have something to talk about. Immediately, he calls Elodie to him. The Duke does not look very pleased that his daughter is talking to this scum. The girl immediately turns her back to the second prince and fulfills her father's instructions to approach him. At this point, she also thought about why her father came so suddenly, because she thought that he did not like this kind of events. The prince, who stayed behind her, is in shock because he could not have expected such a sudden appearance of the Duke with whom he is in conflict. The father immediately grabs the girl by the arm and starts dragging her somewhere. He looks quite insistent and a bit angry, and the prince who is watching all this is obviously getting scared. The girl thinks she's dreaming, and then she grabs her cheek. But since it hurts and she doesn't wake up, the girl realizes it's not a dream, and her father notices it. The Duke of Perdia brings a girl to the balcony. She asks him why they came here and if he has anything to say to her. You can see from the girl's face that she is quite frightened by this behavior on the part of her father. The Duke turns to his daughter, and then we learn that the girl is already scared, and her father has only given her name so far. She realizes that now something not very favorable may happen. But her father just tells her to stay away from the second prince. The girl, who finally realizes what the problem is, cheerfully tells her father that it's not what he thinks. According to her, it's the first time she's talked to the second prince, and she barely answered him. But the Duke of Perdia continues to explain to the girl why she should not talk to the second prince. According to him, the second prince is known for his bad habits, so she should avoid meeting him alone and ignore him when he tries to talk to her. Elodie tells her father that he should not worry about meeting or talking to the second prince, because according to her, it will not happen. Suddenly, the girl thinks that maybe her father is worried about her. This surprises her even more than his unexpected appearance at the banquet. She decides to ask her father about it. The girl asks the Duke if he is worried about her. The Duke, hearing such a question from his daughter, does not answer her and thinks about it a little. The girl, seeing that her father does not answer her question, thinks that she is probably mistaken because he would not bother, but the Duke immediately interrupts the girl and says that it is exactly like that. The girl is even more surprised by his answer and asks him if she understood correctly that he is worried about her. But the Duke says that he has already told her his answer. The girl can't believe what she heard and asks if he's worried about her. But the Duke is already a bit annoyed and asks the girl how many times he should repeat that he's really worried about her. Looking at her father, she sees a look of concern on his face. But she wonders if he will be just as worried when he finds out that she is not his daughter at all. Although in the girl's opinion, when her father finds out that she is not his daughter, he will most likely just kill her without any hesitation. This thought alone makes the girl shiver. Elodie tells the Duke that she has something to tell him. Her father tells the girl that she can tell him anything, but she says that she knows it will sound a bit pointless and ridiculous, but she wants him to know the information too. The girl tells the Duke to be more careful with his aide, Sir Harold. On her face, we can see worry when she says it too. We learn that the reason why the main character helps the Duke is to have some insurance for the future. The Duke himself is surprised by such words from his daughter and asks her what she is talking about. But the girl at the same time realizes that if she helps him to find out who the traitor is, he will definitely help her in the future. And this is also a way to get a reward from the Duke. At the same time, the two brothers of the protagonist are at the ball. Carl asks his older brother if he saw it. He also wonders if they should have helped Elodie, but the older brother asks him to be quiet, while the younger one gets even more nervous and tells the older one that he's wrong. He doesn't understand why she suddenly approached the second principal and asks, has she really lost her mind? Yancey emphasizes that it was the other way around, and it was the second principal approached Lily. These words do not calm Carl down at all, and he says that he wanted to say that they can't let him do what he wants in high society. Also, Carl asks his brother to think about what the second prince could have done at all. Yancey turns to his younger brother again, while the latter looks surprised to see that his older brother has lost part of the glass he was drinking wine from. The older brother notices this and says that he accidentally used his powers, but the younger one remarks that this is insane and wonders if he can still control them. Yancey says it's not, and he can control his powers. He's just barely holding it together. It's clear he's not too happy about what's going on at the ball either. Dear friends, and if you want to know what happened next, and were able to restrain himself, the eldest of the brothers, as well as whether the engagement between the main character and the crown prince happened, then be sure to put a like under this video, and when under it will accumulate 4,000 views or 5,000 likes, I will definitely start to make for you the second part. And on this, I would like to say goodbye to you and wish you a good time of the day.